That's what you do.
How do you? That's incredible.
It's kind of like being an FBI agent. You're always kind of monitoring them and making sure everyone's safe.
Makes good sense. You know, I'm actually a real agent. I'm not an agent. I'm actually a deputy sheriff.
Are you really?
Right there. Many, many years.
Are you serious?
For real life, real life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're a sheriff.
Yep.
Played at Princeton. Pro football player. Greatest superhero of all time.
Never drafted to Major League Baseball like you for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much.
Knuckleballer. How do you hit a knuckleball?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
That's the whole point.
That's the beauty of it. You know, we may have always played on different sides, you know, being the superhero or the supervillain.
Supervillain.
But we have a lot more in common than I thought that we did.
Which is shocking, because one thing's for sure. Genesis Gold Group is a company that we both trust. They make safeguarding your IRA or your 401k as simple as possible. And I need simple,
That's right.
I'll be honest.
And with their stellar reputation, they're as solid as the gold that they sell.
Like this gold right here. So call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD.
What is that?
This is what they call a prepper bar. So like you can break off these, see these little pieces? Oh, it's on both sides.
And it's great because you can carry that around small. And
Oh yeah, and you can literally use it to spend.
Or it's not like this one.
What?
This is a big fella. This is a really great one.
Is that real?
This is a real one. You want to hold it? It's heavy.
Holy smokes.
That's pretty great. Yeah, you can get them one of those from Genesis Gold yourself.
Hey, you guys see this? Look, check
Dean,
this out.
Dean, that's my kid's college tuition money. Hold on, I'll be back. Dean!
Yeah. Who's the supervillain now, huh?
Yeah, that's my goal, Dean!
You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. All right, stop me if you've heard this one. It was an absolutely crazy weekend. Once again, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, the United States of America continues to get rocked every weekend with just a crazy news weekend. Yeah, this is supposed to be the time. It was Thanksgiving weekend. It was supposed to be the time when everybody's calmed down, and no. Things are still moving forward very, very quickly, and a lot of it's great news, to be clear. One of the, I guess, biggest and most positive pieces of news over the weekend is that Kash Patel has been nominated to be the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And yes, the deep state is scurrying like rats, scurrying like cockroaches when the lights come on. They are beside themselves. You're seeing people, within minutes after the announcement, you had Andrew McCabe, former FBI scumbag, going on CNN and lamenting the lack of experience. I like how, you didn't see them going out there and saying, hey, what are Pete Buttigieg's qualifications to be Secretary of Transportation? What are Kamala Harris's qualifications for being Vice President or even President of the United States? They didn't ask those. They asked about Kash Patel, who actually his credentials are quite impressive, and we'll get to those later in the show. But there are reasons to be really, truly, legitimately concerned about this. This is a paradigm shift. Okay, this is a true sea change. Assuming that, and I hate assuming, but if, Lord willing, Kash Patel does become the director of the FBI, even if he doesn't get confirmed, if he's only installed as an acting director for 210 days, things can really, truly, legitimately be shaken up. And of course, the deep state knows that, the uniparty swamp knows that, the globalist elite cabal knows that. They're going to do everything in their power to try to prevent it from happening. We are going to talk about that, but I'm going to go ahead and play. These are old clips. They're clips from the weekend that I did, just as news was breaking, as information came across. I had these stories come up, and I did impromptu little boom, 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 short videos, short responses to them. I'm going to be doing that a lot more, by the way, going forward, because for two reasons. Number one, they're very popular. It's like, wow, I can do these hour-long, hour-and-a-half-long, 2-hour-long shows, and yeah, they, People watch them and listen to them. But when I do these 3, 8, 5, whatever minute short clips, it's like, wow, okay, that's what the people want, because they get viewed out the wazoo. That's reason number one. But reason number two is because we are making a very dramatic shift. It's funny because I'm sure somebody could probably go back into my archives and find a time when I'm saying, I will never, ever get deeply involved with Twitter because I don't trust Twitter, or even after Elon Musk. But, I don't trust Elon Musk and Twitter or X or whatever the heck they're calling it now. I don't trust it. Well, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to be putting a lot more content over on X going forward. That's not to say that I'm taking away from anything else. Okay, I'm still Rumble and for videos and Brighteon and BitChute and Getter and Truth Social and Gab and my websites and the Liberty Daily, and nothing's changing. It's just that I'm putting more content, because here's the thing, to be clear, I've always used X. I've just never been much of a poster on X. Not never, but for probably, let's see, it's been since about 2018. Before 2018, I used to post on X a lot. I used to get hundreds, thousands of retweets all the time. And then I just got sick of it. I got sick of having to sit there and wonder, is this going to get me banned? If I say this, is that going to get me canceled? And then of course after the 2020 election, it became very clear, and I really never paid much attention. Now that's pretty much, I noticed the other day, it's like, I'm posting something, this definitely would have gotten me banned off of X just a couple of years ago, or this definitely would have gotten me suspended or whatever. I don't have to think about that anymore. And it's like, well, fine. Even if I don't 100% trust Elon Musk yet, I'm at about 75%. Okay, I'm getting there. But even if I don't 100% trust him yet, chances are I'm going to. Okay, it's like those predictor things, right? You see them on ESPN. Well, you see them in elections too. But like when there's a game, it's like according to the predictor, the people are voting. 93% think that Auburn's going to win, or whatever. Auburn lost, but whatever. You get the idea. My predictor is definitely pointing up, and Elon Musk is running up the score, and it's getting to the point to where I'm eventually going to have to just say, you know what, whatever else he's doing, okay, whatever he's doing with Starlink or Neuralink or whatever link, whatever he's doing with China or whoever, he seems to be heading in the right direction for sure with Doge, and with Twitter, I'm not seeing a flaw. I'm not seeing a risk. I've been looking for it. I want a reason to not have to go there, but I can't find one. He keeps saying that we are the media now, and he's right. And so a lot of my content is going to be going over there, which means a lot more short form content in the form of videos. So every day, probably literally every day, I'm going to be reacting to things in real time. And that's something that you can do it on a show for sure, but you're stuck with the show window. Whereas, because it's not like I can't go, I could, but it wouldn't behoove me to go on Rumble and do, all right, guys, quick live 3-minute update. That's not realistic. Whereas on X, it's very common. It happens all the time, right? So I'm going to be moving a lot of my stuff over there. I'm almost begging you to do this, because not for my sake. I guess I benefit from it, but really I'm almost to the point of begging you all to follow me for your sake. Follow my account on Twitter, because I'm going to be posting some amazing content over there. I'm not tooting my horn here. I'm just saying that I've always combed Twitter enough, looking for information, looking for stories to do. Now I'm going to be more involved in communicating on X. So you can find me at x.com/JDRucker. Okay, just at JD Rucker, and you'll find me on X. Give me a follow, subscribe, get notifications, all of that good stuff. I'll probably be doing anywhere from sometimes 0. Okay, I'm not setting a schedule there. That's the whole point of X, is that it's like, okay, something happens, I'm going to go live on X real quick. Okay. Something happens, I'm going to post my thoughts real quick. See what, and here's the beauty of it. The other reason that I love to use X is because it gives me a tremendous opportunity to hear to get an understanding of what you all want to hear and to get better information before I even do a show. A lot of my shows are based around responses to posts that I put on X or that other people put on X. Right? So it's like, okay, just as an example, you're going to see here in a minute, a little bit, I talk about the Tom Homan response. Basically, he said over the weekend, or technically it was Friday, he said on Friday that he was going to be going after, he and the Trump administration were going to go after NGOs, the United Nations, other countries, as far as having consequences for their role in our border invasion. Okay, and it didn't get touched by a whole lot of people, but we touched on it, and it blew up for me, for my little X account, little for now X account. It did blow up. I think it had over 1,000 likes, which again, I know compared to like Charlie Kirk or Elon Musk, that's not much, but for me, it's like, wow, I guess the people really, this is what the people want, as they would say on Family Guy. Strange illusion there. Anyway, so follow me there, at JD Rucker on X, and you'll be getting live updates, more of them. And that does, again, I'm not taking away anything from Substack. I'm not taking anything away from Rumble or my websites or anything else. I'm just going to be adding to X more real-time stuff, and it will help me to enhance what I'm doing on the other platforms. So at JD Rucker. Let's go ahead and play some of these. I've got 3 stories that I did over the weekend that I'm going to replay here on today's show. So, and then after those, then I'll get to the Kash Patel situation. So it appears that the Uniparty swamp has been able to successfully steal a good chunk of this election. No, they're not reversing anything. We don't have to worry about President Trump being subverted by voter fraud, not this time at least. We don't have to worry too much about the Senate. We should have worried already, because I believe there was at least 5 Senate seats that were stolen. But nobody said anything then, and now very few people are saying anything about what's happening out here in California. You've got red districts with popular Republican incumbents somehow 3 weeks after the election getting miraculously defeated. After ballot drops come in, after ballots are manufactured, there's these miraculous numbers changes coming through, and all of a sudden you have some districts where the Democrat is all of a sudden leading by like 100 votes. It's criminal. That's all there is to it. I don't know who can investigate this, who needs to go to jail, what lawsuits need to be filed. But I do call on Michael Whatley, I do call on Laura Trump to do their thing, to do what they're supposed to do, and they've done a fantastic job so far. Why stop now when we're close to the finish line? They need to secure, they need to figure out what's going on and find a way to make this right. Find a way to expose the massive widespread voter fraud that's happening here and probably in other states as well. This election integrity should be at the top of everybody's mind. And just because we won, everybody's basking in the victory. Everybody's doing the Trump dance, right? But here's the thing: if the current results stick, that means that the Republicans will have a 220 to 215 majority. But let's say that everything works out the way that we think it's going to. Let's say Elise Stefanik has to step down to join Trump's team. Mike Waltz has to step down to join Trump's team. Matt Gaetz has already stepped down. Until those seats are filled, and it could take weeks or even months before they are filled, that means that the Republicans are going to have a 217 to 215 majority. In other words, not a single Republican can vote with the Democrats on any piece of legislation for it to pass. You have to have every Republican in lockstep. And generally speaking, that's a good thing, because that means that the outspoken conservatives, such as the House Freedom Caucus, they can have some pull. When there's a huge majority, they don't have any pull, right? When there's a tiny majority, they can get their way. But this is too thin of a lead. In other words, this will be a real test for Mike Johnson if he can somehow keep his caucus tightly aligned than to get legislation passed, that would be something. I would actually be impressed if he's able to do that without having to compromise on the bills themselves, without having to water them down with any stupidity. We'll see. I'm pissed. I mean, it was happening. We were talking about it. I'm sure many of you were talking about it. But now, unless they're planning on filing more lawsuits or having investigations done or having audits done or figuring something out, some way to widen the majority, this might not be as good. I know nobody wants to hear this, but we want Agenda 47. That's what we voted for, and it could be the voter fraud, the election theft that's taking place in California and elsewhere that prevents us from having Agenda 47 fulfilled. After Trump was elected president, I received a couple of communications from people. One via phone, text, and the other one via Twitter, X, direct message. People asking me, "Hey, now that Trump's back in office, is the economy going to get better?" And I said, "Yeah, in some ways it definitely will. Obviously, I mean, just Trump's presence alone will have a dramatic impact on the economy, and it will take things to the next level. But with that said, the threats still remain. Trump, Harris, didn't matter. They're still pushing, they being the powers that be, are still pushing for central bank digital currencies. They're still pushing for de-dollarization and the rise of BRICS. They're still pushing for the advancement of a worldwide economy. And while Trump will do everything in his power to prevent that, to at least slow it down, some of it is not within even the power of the United States of America itself. And this is why there is no reason, you can see by the gold prices, there is no reason to doubt physical precious metals as a proper way to hedge against what is coming, because it's still coming. There were certain scenarios that would have happened if Kamala Harris had won, and there are certain scenarios that will happen now that President Trump has won, and those scenarios still point in the same exact direction. That's the reason why even central banks are still buying up as much gold and silver as possible. That's why banks, financial institutions are recommending to their people, buy as much gold and silver as possible. I work with a faith-driven gold company. There are a lot of gold companies out there that get recommended by hosts. The one that I like happens to be driven by faith, and they actually do a tremendous job versus the competition. You can check out Genesis Gold Group by going to rumblegold.com. That's rumblegold.com, or read my testimony over at jdrucker.com/gold. It feels like every week, every other week at the very latest, we hear of a new scientific study or data analysis or archaeological discovery that demonstrates the accuracy of the Bible. But invariably, especially if it comes from scientific journals or whatever, invariably this information it's watered down or manipulated in a way that makes it seem as if it's not proving further that the Bible is real, it's accurate, and it is the inspired word of God. Ken Ham this is his shtick. He does go after such scientific studies, and did a great job over at Harbinger's Daily. I think it was last week. According to the article, overwhelming evidence, and this is important, that the headline says it all. Overwhelming evidence. If it wasn't in the Bible, scientists would consider a global flood indisputable. In other words, the data that they've had, combined with this brand new data that they're just now discovering, if the Bible didn't say there was a global flood, then scientists would say there was a global flood. But because the Bible says that there was a global flood, they bend over backwards. They engage in the worst type of intellectual gymnastics you have ever seen. They try everything they can to avoid saying, "Hey, there was a global flood." I'm not going to read the whole article. Well, let's skip ahead. So here's the background. The new research looked at the Tonto Group, a 500-meter thick formation containing various strata that is conventionally assigned to the Cambrian layer. While evolutionists believe it to be 540 million years old, listen to how they interpret this area based on their studies at the Grand Canyon and other places. The Tonto Group, these are each three different sets of data explained in the scientific way. The Tonto Group holds a treasure trove of sedimentary layers and fossils chronicling the Cambrian explosion some 540 million years ago, when the first vertebrates and animals with hard shells rapidly proliferated and, listen, sea levels rose to envelop continents with emerging marine life. That's how they can explain why are there fish fossils on this mountain? Well, here's why. That's what they claim. From the Tonto Group's 500 meter thick strata, we're learning about sea level rise and the effects of catastrophic tropical storms. Didn't the Bible mention? We'll get back to that. Probably more powerful than today's devastating hurricanes during a period of very hot temperatures when the Earth was ice-free. Sea levels were so high during this time period, Daler said, that rocks like the Tonto Group were deposited atop every continent on Earth as seas bathed the continents in a complex mosaic of shallow marine, coastal, and terrestrial environments. So let me get this straight. Past data plus this brand new data that they're just putting out there, brand new discoveries and understandings and analyses, points to the fact that there was a global flood. But, and this is the big but, you'll notice that in the article and in the study, they never actually mention the word flood. They don't. They talk about sea levels rising. Okay. They talk about storms. They talk about things that all are discussed in the book of Genesis, and yet they refuse to use the word flood because to do so would get people like me, people like you probably, people like Ken Ham saying, oh, see, there's the flood. That scientists have said there was never a flood, and now they're discovering, oh yeah, there definitely was a worldwide flood. They just won't use the word flood because to do so might get the crazy Christians out there to start saying, proven. It has been proven. It is proven. It is. And you don't need proof, I would imagine. If you are a Bible-believing Christian, you already understand. Of course there was a flood. The Bible says it was there. And even if you're not a Bible-believing Christian, it should discourage you that scientists are willing to change their own language, to distort their conclusions based around an unhinged desire to not have their science demonstrate what the Bible already says. Again, even if you don't believe the Bible is true, this should be very annoying to you because scientists will bend over backwards to not have their work prove the Bible. Even if you don't believe that it's true, you should want scientists to be honest no matter what, to follow the data no matter what, to follow the truth, the facts, the discoveries. They shouldn't be manipulating what they find or how they disseminate it to the world based upon this desire to not be associated with proving the Bible correct. So either way, this should bug you, especially if you are a Bible-believing Christian. Incoming border czar Tom Homan has been doing a whole lot of interviews lately, and praise God for that, because this is a man who says what he means, and he does what he says he's going to do. And I'm very hopeful that what he said during a recent interview, he does actually end up following through, and this is indicative of what multiple members of the Trump administration are going to be doing once they are in office. Watch.
I tell you what, the Trump team coming to town, we're going to take control January 20th, and people are going to be held accountable. We're going to be very transparent. We're going to get behind. What did the United Nations have to do with this open border crisis? Who in the administration, the Biden administration, opened the doors on this humanitarian crisis? What NGOs were involved in this? We're going to be very transparent to American people, and we're going to tell them the truth what happened on this border. Again, by design, and we're going to let the American people know who was involved, why, and hold them accountable.
Now, Homan is not known to speak above his pay grade. He generally, when he says that he and the administration are going to do something, it's because he's been told that that's what the administration is going to do. So when he says that they're going after the NGOs, they're going to go after, he mentioned the United Nations, and that, to me, also signals other globalist entities. As I noted on Twitter, there's far bigger significance than most people realize Tom Homan saying the Trump administration will investigate other nations involved in the border invasion. What he's unofficially announcing is that the Trump administration is going to try to expose and take down the globalist elite cabal. The powers behind the border invasion are the entities, nations, NGOs, oligarchs, and technocrats that are actively trying to diminish America's place in the world so they can usher in their vision of 10 regional powers controlled by one world government. Taking on open borders is taking on that globalist elite cabal. I am down with that, and it is true. I do hope, very hopeful, that this is exactly what he's planning on doing, what the Trump administration is planning on doing. And if you look at some of the other picks, some of the people that are involved, not just with foreign affairs, of course, but also with from a legal perspective and even from a military perspective, it would make sense. It would make sense for the Trump administration to be preparing to go to war, not just against Democrats, not just against wokeism or leftism or anything like that, but against globalism itself. We will see. Obviously, it's still early, and this is based upon the word of one man, but it's a very capable man and somebody who, like I said, he doesn't tend to speak above his pay grade. So if he's saying it, he could be speaking on behalf of the entire administration. All right, so let's talk about Kash Patel. Kash Patel is obviously being attacked very heavily by the deep state, the Uniparty swamp, and the globalist elite cabal. They don't want him going in there and doing the things that he has said that he's going to do, or that he would do if he were in charge. And now that it appears that he will be in charge, I think it makes sense. You know, not cheering for them by any means, but if I were them, I would be scared too. Because he's going to expose a lot of their shenanigans, and as a result, they're putting out their attacks. The first round of attacks so far has been, oh, he's not qualified. He's never been in the FBI. He's not qualified to be the director of the FBI. And don't even get me started on past FBI directors who were far less qualified than him. But let's just, instead of attacking them, let's go straight to his qualifications. Over at AmericaFirstReport.com, we do have a list that was put together. I'm not sure if it was put together by Alex, what's his name? Alex Bruesewitz, Trump advisor Alex Bruesewitz, or if he got it from somewhere else, but we're going to go with it. According to Alex on X, he said that Kash Patel is arguably the most qualified FBI director nominee in history. Here's his background. Pardon me. Kash served as the Chief of Staff to the Department of Defense and Deputy Assistant to President Trump. As the Chief of Staff at the DoD, his responsibilities included implementing the Secretary's no-fail mission with our 3 million plus employees, operating a $740 billion budget and $2 trillion in assets. Seems pretty compelling. Kash served as Deputy Director of National Intelligence, where he oversaw all 17 intelligence community agencies and prioritized intelligence collection to focus on hard targets and global threats. He led the director's mission to synthesize our intelligence holdings and create the president's daily briefing, which he then briefed to the president and to cabinet officials. Kash led President Trump's counterterrorism mission as deputy assistant to the president on the National Security Council and helped President Trump in his top priorities, including eliminating al-Qaeda and ISIS senior leadership and safely repatriating dozens of American hostages. As the top counterterrorism official at the White House, Kash was responsible for creating and implementing our nation's policy to safeguard the homeland by overseeing the interagency implementation of the National CT Strategy. Kash served as the National Security Advisor and Senior Counsel for the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, where he spearheaded the investigation into the Russian active measures campaign to influence the 2016 presidential election, Russiagate. The investigation discovered numerous illegal surveillance measures undertaken by the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigations to unlawfully spy on Trump's campaign. Concurrently, he led congressional oversight of sensitive programs for the intelligence community and the U.S. Special Operations Forces and worked to enact legislation to fully fund the multi-billion-dollar budgets supporting intelligence and counterterrorism operations nationwide. Now back to Russiagate real quick. He helped to give the information, but the pushback against him was absolutely tremendous, including within the Trump campaign, or the Trump administration itself. His bosses were pushing back. And that's why this is arguably one of the biggest reasons the deep state itself is so adamantly opposed to him. Because once he's the boss, what's going to hold him back? The answer, of course, is nothing, and that terrifies them. Because he has seen the information now, he can disseminate the information and see more of it, because he didn't get to see it all. He was actually went on, I believe it was Glenn Beck, and said, look, I couldn't see everything. We spent 10,000 man hours on this, and we uncovered a whole bunch of stuff, but then we were told to shelve it. Well, let's take it off the shelf. Kash worked as a national security prosecutor at the DOJ under the Obama administration, where he led investigations spanning multiple theaters of conflict and oversaw the successful prosecution of criminals aligned with Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terror groups. This work necessitated Mr. Patel's presence in locations across the globe, collaborating with host nation governments to successfully prosecute terrorists. He also served as the DOJ liaison officer to Joint Special Operations Command, working with our nation's most prestigious counterterrorism units, the Special Forces, to conduct collaborative global targeting operations against high-value objectives in almost every theater of war. He began his career as a public defender, trying scores of complex cases in federal courts ranging from murder to narco-trafficking to complex financial crimes. Kash Patel is extraordinarily qualified to be the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. When you hear them say, oh, he doesn't have this qualification, he doesn't have that qualification, he hasn't done this or that, what they're really saying is, holy crap, Kash Patel's going to catch us all. I ask right now for you to pray for Kash Patel. Pray for protection, because they're coming after him. They being the deep state. Their worst nightmare has come true. President Trump, over the weekend, appointed Kash Patel to be the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. That will give him an extreme level of power, of course, having the Bureau at his disposal, but perhaps more importantly, it gives him the treasure trove of information that is currently locked away in the FBI vaults, locked away in their computers, their file cabinets, whatever. Tons of information that the deep state would never want to see the light of day. And Kash Patel has indicated multiple times that he wants many of those documents, perhaps all of those documents, to be released. Now, obviously, if anything that has true national security implications, he would not release. His past roles within the government, especially at DNI, have demonstrated that he does understand when things should be kept secret, where releasing them would do actual harm to America or to the Constitution or to the American people. But a lot of times, and I would argue it's probably the vast majority of time, whenever they say, oh, we can't tell you that because of national security reasons, it's really just to protect somebody or something. It's to protect the people, cronies, world leaders, perhaps, business leaders, whoever, people that perhaps they don't want exposed. It has nothing to do with, oh, if we expose that person, then North Korea is going to get nukes, or if we reveal, how many FBI agents there were, then those agents will be in danger. No, that's what? It doesn't make any sense. But that's what they do, and they keep their secrets by hiding behind the veil of national security. We can't confirm whether or not it has anything to do with national security because it's secret because of national security. Well, hopefully, Kash Patel will cut through that and take the things that really have nothing to do with national security and let us know. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. That is what terrifies the deep state the most. So they're going to go after him. They're actually in the process of going after him. And we're not just talking about, let's send John Bolton out there to make fun of him. Let's send Andrew McCabe out there to call him a threat to democracy. No, they're really going to go after him hard. And this is why I'm asking for prayers. One of the things they're going to do, probably the first thing they're in the process of doing right now, is to try to compromise him. They want to blackmail him. They would love, their ideal situation, they're not happy that he's the appointee, but if they can turn him, if they can control him, then that's the ideal situation. Having somebody in there that President Trump trusts, that the American people trust, having somebody in there that they then control, oh, that would be the ideal scenario. And they do this all the time. They find ways to control these people. And if you, I'm not going to go into it again. I already got a strike on YouTube for that one. And not that I care, just to be clear, but it's really more of a timing issue. I will again do another deep dive into how they compromise so many people. We're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Americans around us that are completely compromised and known by the deep state. We're not going to go into that today. Just take my word for it. It's happening. And it does happen even in the halls of government in Washington, D.C., and they are going to try to make that happen against Kash Patel. If they cannot compromise him, if they cannot blackmail him, and Lord willing they cannot, then they will try to bury him with a mountain of dirt. They will investigate him. They will investigate his family. They will go back into the past. They will look into his finances. They will look for any possible way that they can discredit him and potentially even remove him from consideration. We saw a taste of that they did with Matt Gaetz, and they've been doing that with Matt Gaetz for a while. Thankfully, Kash Patel comes in without a pre-existing investigation, but that's not going to stop them from trying to find something. I would not be surprised if they try to find his version of Christine Blasey Ford. Somebody to come out and say, "Oh yeah, Kash Patel. We were at a party in 1992, and I guess he would only be like 14 at that point, but." Pick a better time. 1999. There we go. I was at a party with him in 1999, and he touched me, or I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but something to that effect. I would expect them to at least try. And if they can't make any of that stick, then it could be even worse. I mean, we are talking about a group of people that tried to smear and did arrest and try to jail a presidential candidate and possibly, likely, tried to assassinate a presidential candidate. Nothing is off the table for these people because they have far too much to protect. They are willing to do anything to stick their necks out as far as possible if there's a chance they can keep their dirty little secrets a secret. Of course, probably number one on the list, I know this is one that most people are talking about, would be the Epstein list. He has expressed his desire to have the Epstein list released. He said in reference, and this is a while back, he said in reference to President Trump running for re-election that he should announce and declare up front that if he's elected, he's going to release the Epstein list. And so if he's saying that back then, hopefully now that he will have access and control of the Epstein list, hopefully FBI Director Kash Patel will release it. The same thing can be said about the Diddy party list. Chances are he would want to release that as well. And I hope that he does. Those two in particular, I mean, there's enough. Let's set aside the tabloid aspect of it. There are people, hopefully, I don't hope that there's people that we can punish, but there are people that obviously need to be punished, need to be exposed, that are on both of those lists. And they are currently walking free. They're currently repercussion free. Maybe they're being used as assets by the deep state. I would say that's almost certainly the case. And it's like, hey, saw your name on the list. We got some videos of you. Why don't you go do this or that or the other? And we saw that. I think we saw that. I mean, I don't think the timing of the Diddy arrest was accidental. I don't think that the fact that a whole lot of celebrities who weren't going to be endorsing Kamala Harris publicly, all of a sudden they're showing up at her rallies. They're like, oh yeah, I love Kamala. I've always loved Kamala. You know, and they became fans real fast shortly after Diddy was arrested. So maybe that's why the lists haven't been released, because they're using them as leverage. I would say that's probably almost certainly the case. Of course, there is the Russiagate thing, which Kash Patel has been deeply involved with from the beginning. Kash Patel has been a victim of the Russiagate hoax, and he has led the charge to hold people accountable for their actions throughout Russiagate, including the man that he's going to replace, Christopher Wray. Watch this.
Now we know over a dozen senior congressional staffers, Democrats and Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer staffers, were unlawfully surveilled on by Christopher Wray and Rod Rosenstein and others at DOJ and FBI when we were exposing the Russiagate corruption, what that they lied about to a federal court and the world. And I've invited and have invited every one of those staffers to come in and join my lawsuit. We sued not because we care about the money. We sued because we care about fixing this corrupt, broken law enforcement system. And Chris Wray and Rod Rosenstein and Jesse Liu and everybody else that's listed in the lawsuit is going to sit for a deposition under oath in this lawsuit, and they're going to answer questions. And I'm going to do the questioning.
He's coming. He's coming for him. What else do we have? We have the Nashville Shooter Manifesto that, too, is being held currently by the FBI. He actually did a very, I'm not going to play it, but he did a good explainer of why that hasn't been released and how the FBI utilizes not just their jurisdiction and authority as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, but also the fact that they do fund many local police departments. They do they hold money over these departments, and that's one of the reasons why they're often allowed to dictate what happens during investigations, including the Nashville trans shooter, the manifesto that has still to this day never been released. Why not? I think we have an idea of why not, but I'd still like to see it. The full and original version of it, and I would be shocked if he didn't release that one. What else? We've got, of course, J6. How many agents were there? What were their roles in sparking the protests to become more aggressive on January 6th, 2021? What was Ray Epps' role? Well, Kash Patel has some opinions about that.
What you need to show is whether or not the FBI and government agents were using undercover operatives and informants on the day of January 6th, because if you can show that, you know they've been hang on. But the paperwork shows having run informants, that's a 6-month buildup. Minimum.
Right.
Minimum. It's not like they just dropped them into the Proud Boys and said, hey, go, don't disrupt, please. So once you prove that, then you defeat the insurrection narrative with the FBI's own documentation. Forget what the videotape shows.
Just for people who you can't see what's going on in the room, the reason why Kash just said hang on or whatever is because I started smirking and rolling my eyes. And what I meant to convey with that is, come on, we know they were involved.
No, look, I totally
clarify,
agree.
Though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know definitively. What I'm saying is a reasonable suspicion is that there were agents. There's a video showing a guy with an earpiece pulling people into the building. All right. Mm-hmm. You combine that with the evidence of Ray Epps, and it looks like you have a preponderance of evidence suggesting there may have been federal law enforcement involved in making that thing happen.
I'll get you beyond a reasonable doubt.
All
Two
right.
pieces of information. Ray Epps was on FBI's most wanted list one day, and the next day he was off of the FBI's most wanted list. There are only two ways that happens. You die, or your informant. Put that aside. Under congressional testimony, Jill Sanborn, who I used to work with, the head of the FBI Counterintelligence Division, in charge of all these investigations, testified under oath when Senator Cruz asked her, flat out, were there federal agents involved with January 6th? And she said, quote, Senator, I can't answer that at this time. Not if the answer was definitively no, having been a DOJ FBI guy myself, she would have gone there and said, nope, absolutely not. The reason she said I can't answer that is because of the same stonewalling they gave us during Russiagate with Christopher Steele, Halper, and everybody else. It's the same narrative, and I'm telling you they were there.
So you're saying that she said I can't answer that because the answer is yes,
Yeah.
and that would compromise whatever their operation was.
Exactly.
Kudos to Tim Pool for that interview. Look, we don't know how deep that is, and no matter how deep you think the J6 conspiracy is, it's probably a heck of a lot deeper than that. And it does involve, I'm certain it involves many of the members of the January 6th committee itself, which is one of the reasons why they have been so adamantly opposed. All of them, every single member of the January 6th committee has been apoplectic. I mean, they just don't know what to do with themselves based upon the concept of Donald Trump returning to office. They are terrified, perhaps more so than even the deep state. They are terrified of their lies, their crimes, their sins being exposed. And they too are desperate. Kash Patel has a lot of potential enemies out there, and we need to pray for him. Perhaps the most important thing that he has expressed as far as his plans, as far as what he would do if he were FBI director, it's not just the release of information. It's, and stay with me on this, it's his desire to make agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigations actually investigate crimes. I know, it's a crazy thought. I mean, mind-blowing thought that perhaps the nation's top level, most heavily funded law enforcement agency, supposed to be the greatest law enforcement agency in the world, well, Kash Patel wants them to enforce the law. That's crazy. I mean, mind blown. Watch this.
Then we need to decrease what I call government creep with personnel. The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and rapists and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
So massive government reform.
Yeah. And you got to work with Congress to eliminate the billets. This is one of the things we did when I was deputy DNI. We got to DNI and I was like, okay, what do all these people do? We've got the CIA, so why do I have analysts doing the CIA's job here? Why do I have a floor of them? Like, give me a good answer. I don't know everything. I don't know a lot. But if you can give me an answer that satisfies their existence, I'm all in. Well, we just have our own people. Okay, well, now we don't. And we went to Congress and zeroed out a bunch of billets, and they hated us for it.
Why? Why would Congress hate you for that?
Not Congress, the public. Congress is like, great, you saved us money. You're the only agency that returned money this year because we didn't spend our entire budget. We were literally funding seats with no humans in them for years. And what the government creep that I was talking about is these agencies go to Congress every year. And again, this is why it's a thing of decades. I need 5 more seats here. I need 10 more seats here. Okay, you keep doing that. How's that going? Oh, we'll fill that seat next year. We're in the process of, interviewing people for that section. And that keeps, no one returns money. It's the biggest fiction in government that you can't return money. Every agency and department that I've ever worked for, when it comes to the fiscal end of the year, they're like, go on trips, go spend money. What? Just give it back to Congress. We can't do that.
Yeah, I think it's clear. Kash Patel is the right man for the job. Hands down, not even close. Nobody comes close to being as good of a pick for the director of the FBI than Kash Patel. But we must pray for him. If you're a Bible-believing Christian, I'm begging you to pray for him. Pray for his protection. If it is God's will that he is protected, then there's nothing they can do to stop him. As powerful as they are, there's nothing we can do to stop them from going after him. You and I, we can't do anything directly. If they want to find Christine Blasey Ford, his version of her, if they want to try to take him out, we saw what happened when the first assassination attempt against President Trump. There were people that were like, hey, look, a guy on the roof. Even those people that were there, close by, even the non-compromised police officers that were there close by, they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it. And somebody died as a result. And I don't know if that was the deep state or if he was a lone wolf or I don't know. Yeah, that's stuff that we'll never know about that, perhaps. Maybe we will, but I don't think we will ever know the truth about any of the assassination attempts, and there were probably more that we don't even know about. But we do know that something compelled President Trump to turn just at the right moment. If he hadn't turned his head, he would not be here today. We would probably have have President Kamala Harris or President Nikki Haley at this point, or maybe even still President Joe Biden, who knows, we wouldn't be facing this prospect of having President Trump here. And I praise God for that. I do believe wholeheartedly that God protected Trump that day, and we have to pray that it is God's will to protect Kash Patel as well. I think that he can do a whole lot. Let's pray that he's not compromised in any way. And to be clear, I don't think that he is. I mean, it would be awful if he were compromised, because he's still saying the things that somebody who's not compromised would say. All right. Well, let's hope that nothing happens to him in that regard. Let's hope that they're not able to find some dirt on him. Let's hope that they're not able to do something worse to him, because if he is, assuming that he is the next director of the FBI, whether he gets properly confirmed through the Senate or if he's just put in as acting director for 210 days, there's still a whole lot that he can do no matter what. And I want him to do it. Elon Musk can do a whole lot. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can do a whole lot. Tom Homan can do a whole lot. Pete Hegseth can do a lot. Okay, President Trump has put forth a great team. But Kash Patel, to me, he is the linchpin. He is the catalyst. If we are ever to defeat the deep state, the time is now, and Kash Patel is the man to do it. I would say the vast majority of my audience is very, very hopeful for the future. The election of President Trump has been just already, we're seeing shockwaves. We're already seeing results even at this early stage, but there are still concerns. He can't do everything. He's going to do everything in his vast power to protect us, to protect our nation, to defend the Constitution, to protect our freedoms. But that doesn't mean that there won't be risks, challenges. We're already seeing wars popping up and rumors of wars popping up across the globe. Will he be able to stop all of them? I think so. But what if he can't? What if, for whatever reason, cooler minds, cooler heads don't prevail and we find ourselves in the midst of something tragic? What about natural disasters? What about just the idiocy of the globalist regimes across this planet that are trying to do everything they can to destroy our food supply? They want to control the food, and they want to make sure that we're not eating the good stuff, especially as it pertains to protein, and specifically as it pertains to beef. Cows seem to be the main culprit for every boogeyman propagating bad guy out there. As a part owner of an all-American, patriotic, freeze-dried steak company, I am very, very blessed, pleased, and honored to be able to offer my wonderful audience an opportunity to take advantage. If you go to worldviewbeef.com and use promo code JDR, you will get the maximum possible discount. And there are other discount codes out there that are less. It's not like with certain companies where, it doesn't matter which promo code you use. Use JDR. I own the company. Use promo code JDR and get the maximum discount at any given moment at worldviewbeef.com. All American, no mRNA jabs. It's just the good stuff. So check it out, worldviewbeef.com. Well, of course, the big news over the weekend was Joe Biden pardoning Hunter Biden late Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. It was, I think, in many ways expected. I know I expected it. I thought that he was going to be pardoning Hunter. At this point, what does he have to lose? I mean, he's lost the presidency. He's lost his dignity. He's lost most of his mind. There's nothing left to say other than, he's not running for re-election. He doesn't have a legacy to try to maintain. It's just all bad for Joe Biden, so why make his son suffer? Not for gun charges and tax evasion. I'm not defending that, but I can understand it. And I'll be talking more in depth if you're watching if you watch me on my Rumble channel, which you can get to at jdrucker.com/rumble, or if you're watching on X, which is x.com/jdrucker, I'll be talking far more in depth about the Hunter Biden pardon and reactions to it and implications, because there's a little bit of weirdness to this. Okay, it goes beyond just the nobody's above the law except for Hunter Biden. There's more to it than that. There are conspiracies possibly surrounding the timing of it, because it goes all the way back to 2014. Keep in mind the charges that that Hunter Biden has been convicted of, the crimes that he's been convicted of, date back to 2016. 2014 has two very interesting, I guess, correlations to the Hunter Biden saga, okay? And either one of them or both could be the reason that Joe Biden backdated his pardon all the way to January of 2014. Number one, of course, there's the Ukraine connection. This was right around the color revolution. This is right around the time when Hunter went to work for Burisma, the energy company, the very corrupt energy company in Ukraine, where he was making a whole lot of money because of his daddy, because of his name. The other interesting component is that the laptop from hell dates back to 2014. Apparently, that's when the laptop itself started. That's when Hunter started putting data on there, pictures, videos, crimes, depravity. And so if there are crimes that go beyond what he's been convicted of, that are where there's evidence on the laptop, it would make sense to go back. And it could be one or it could be both. I'm going to dive into it again later today. If you're watching on my Rumble channel or on my X or on BitChute for that matter, or Getter, any of the major places that I do put this out there. If you're watching on one of my standard channels, I may or may not be talking about this later. It may be tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. I've got to do a lot of investigating into this because there's more to it than just what we're seeing. The date, of course, there's a lot of questions there. And then the responses. So far, the responses have been as expected. You've got a lot of people making fun of those who were touting or defending Joe Biden. Who was it? Lawrence O'Donnell in particular. He posted something on Twitter a while back saying, this is what integrity looks like, and Joe Biden is not going to pardon Hunter because Joe Biden is a man of honor or something. I don't even remember. It was ludicrous. But of course, he looks like a fool. And here's the thing, to be fair, I don't know a time when Lawrence O'Donnell doesn't look like a fool. He really is legitimately he's bad in a sea of bad journalists. He's amongst the worst out there because he is. I'm not going to dwell on Lawrence O'Donnell. He's just a moron, and he is not afraid to let that show. But we're going to see responses, and I think that perhaps the biggest story out of this is President Trump's reaction. Trump invoking the J6 political prisoners, and that is a tremendous sign because this does open the door for not only does it make it easier for Kash Patel and others to be confirmed, but it also opens the door wider. Shouldn't have needed to be open wider, but it does open the door wider for J6 political prisoners to be pardoned. Lord willing, I'll be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.
I have one kid. You have 5 kids.
That's what you.
How do you? That's incredible.
It's kind of like being an FBI agent. You're always kind of monitoring them and making sure everyone's safe.
Makes good sense. I'm actually a real agent. Well, not an agent. I'm actually a deputy sheriff.
Are you really?
Right there. Many, many years.
Are you serious?
For real life, real life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're a sheriff.
Yep.
Played at Princeton. Pro football player. Greatest superhero of all time.
Never drafted to Major League Baseball like you with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much.
Knuckleballer. How do you hit a knuckleball?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
That's the whole point.
That's the beauty of it. We may have always played on different sides, being the superhero or the supervillain. But we have a lot more in common than I thought that we did.
Which is shocking because one thing's for sure. Genesis Gold Group is a company that we both trust. They make safeguarding your IRA or your 401k as simple as possible. And I need simple,
That's right.
I'll be honest.
And with their stellar reputation, they're as solid as the gold that they sell.
Like this gold right here. So call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD.
What is that?
This is what they call a prepper bar. So you can break off see these little pieces? Oh, it's on both sides.
And it's great because you can carry that around small. And
and you can literally use it to spend.
Or it's not like this one.
What?
This is a big fella. This is a really great one.
Is that real?
This is a real one. You want to hold it? It's heavy.
Holy smokes.
That's pretty great. Yeah, you can get one of those from Genesis Gold yourself.
Hey, you guys see this? Look, check
Dean,
this out.
Dean, that's my kid's college tuition money. Hold on, I'll be back. Dean!
Yeah. Who's the supervillain now, huh?
Yeah, that's my gold, Dean!